Is there a way to predict when and where it will surge, and how often does it surge? Joe here with the Rideshare Guy, and today we're going to talk about surge pricing and primetime fares. So first, surge pricing and primetime are multipliers that are placed on rides when requests are higher than driver supply. They multiply the price in order to bring drivers in order to incentivize drivers to drive in certain locations so that the supply will meet the demand. And it's a little bit different with Uber. It's an actual multiplier, so you'll see 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And with Lyft, it's actually percentage based, so they'll say 25% or anywhere to 500%. Essentially, like a 100% prime time would be a 2 times surge. So a 100% prime time fare would essentially be 2 times the normal fare. Surge in prime time typically occurs during rushes, during morning and evening rushes, and also during events like sporting events, concerts, where there's going to be a lot of requests occurring in a specific geographic location. Both Uber and Lyft are pretty good about notifying drivers in advance and also the day of when ride requests are going to peak. They'll notify drivers via text, via email. They'll send all these notifications in order to get drivers on the road. They want to incentivize drivers to get on the road in order to meet the demand. So where and when does surge and prime time typically occur? Like I said, it's during the morning and evening peaks throughout the week during rush hours. In my experience, 95% of prime time and surge occur near a downtown area. It's where the largest concentration of people are, so that's where the most requests are going to come from during those busiest times. So now surge and prime time occur pretty consistently during those morning and evening rushes, but are there times where you can absolutely guarantee that it will surge or be prime time? So there are a few times where I can guarantee that prime time or surge will occur. One of them is bar close. So you'll want to keep track of when the bars in your particular city actually close. There's always going to be excelled ride requests during those times. Also, at the beginning and end of sporting events and concerts, there will definitely be a surge or spike in requests then. And another one, at least it happens here specifically in Minnesota, but weather events. So when we experience huge snowfalls, it will surge and prime time like crazy. I experienced one of those last week, actually 2 weeks ago, where we had a snowfall during the morning rush, and it was prime time was up to 550%, and I actually got an airport ride with a 550% prime time fare, which 550% was 6.5 times the cost of a normal fare. So what are some strategies for drivers? Like I said, the surge in prime time will occur near downtown areas during the morning and evening rushes. So I personally like to position myself near, say, Minneapolis at the beginning of a rush hour, both morning and evening. Also, for concerts and sporting events, you'll want to track those times. Make sure when one starts, typically people are going to start going to the event even an hour before, and then when the event is over, you're going to want to position yourself near the venue. And so what does surge and prime time look like? We'll jump in. I'll show you some screenshots of surge and prime time. I'll also show you some communications that Lyft and Uber will send to let drivers know that yes, there's going to be high demand during specific times. And I'll also show you a filter in the Lyft driver app where you can set to receive high earnings notifications when there are high earnings nearby. So let's go take a look at some screenshots. So first, I'll show you some of the communications that Lyft will send me to let me know that certain events are going to be happening either the day of, or to let me know in advance that things are happening, or to let me know of weather that's going to come. Lyft lets drivers know this stuff because they know that it's probably going to be prime time during these events, and they want drivers on the road. And these are mass text messages that they send. So you can see they let me know there's going to be snow expected overnight. They also let me know of Friday nights being busy recently. They let me know again about snow. And then they're also letting me know, based on the past 2 days, there's been high demand from 6:30 to 9 a.m. And then there's also this Go Guide that Lyft will send each week. And they send it to me both via text message and email. And it'll mark out specific events like concerts and sporting events. Before and after these events, you can almost guarantee that it will be prime time or surge, but Lyft sends all this information out because essentially they don't want it to be prime time. They don't want that to happen because it's a bad experience for passengers, but it's going to happen regardless. The more drivers that they have on the road, the less the multiplier will be for prime time, but it will still occur. And I don't drive as much for Uber, so they don't really send me communications via text or email, but they do have messages in the driver app right on the splash screen where you can see upcoming events, and there you'll see the games that are going to be that night, and they'll always list the games or events that are happening that day. So now we'll look at some screenshots of surge and prime time. So I took these screenshots on Wednesday morning at 7:46. And you can see that both here in Minnesota, we basically have two downtowns, Minneapolis and St. Paul. Minneapolis is quite a bit busier, but St. Paul can be busy as well. So you can see Uber was getting hit pretty hard in downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul. And you can see on the left, Lyft was getting hit a little bit in Minneapolis downtown and pretty hard downtown St. Paul. And this is typical for mornings. I've found personally here in Minneapolis and St. Paul from about 7:30 to 9 a.m. That's the busiest it is in the morning, and you'll see a lot of surge and prime time fares during those times. So I took another screenshot of Minneapolis about 10 minutes later, and you can see with Lyft on the left that it got quite a bit busier, and with Uber stayed pretty busy as well, and looks like Uber was getting pretty busy in even the West Metro area, but still pretty busy in downtown Minneapolis. And here's an example of an afternoon surge. So at right around 5 o'clock that afternoon, here's what surge looked like with Uber. It was pretty busy downtown Minneapolis and a little bit busier to the east of downtown Minneapolis and near to St. Paul. And then it was really busy with Lyft right near downtown Minneapolis. But this is pretty typical for surge and prime time during the morning and the afternoon rushes. And so here's an example of when a weather event like a snowstorm will create high prime time and surge. So I wish I would have taken screenshots of prime time that morning. I was driving exclusively for Lyft, but it was anywhere from 25% to 550%. I lucked out and got a 550% airport ride. So I was paid $89 for this ride. And again, this was on Tuesday, December 5th, when we had a pretty big snowfall from about 7 to 9 that morning. So at least here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, I can guarantee that when we have a huge snowfall, there will be prime time and there will be surge. Another cool thing that you can do, and Uber used to have this, they used to have surge notifications, but they don't have them anymore within their driver app, at least here in Minneapolis and St. Paul. But Lyft has this high earnings alert where they'll send this high earnings alert a few times daily when there's high earnings nearby, so when it's prime time nearby. You can toggle this on, but then you'll have to set your location services to always with Lyft in order to enable that. And I am on an iPhone, but it should be similar on Android. So quick overview, again, surge and prime time are multipliers placed on fares in order for supply to meet demand. These occur during morning and evening rushes throughout the week, also near concerts and events, sporting events, and also during weather events. And again, you want to position yourself near a downtown or near an event when you anticipate that surge or prime time will occur. That's where the most requests will happen. Another strategy that I utilize when prime time and surge is really high is I'll use the destination feature. So back when a few weeks ago when we experienced the weather event here in Minnesota, I was getting requests from 30 minutes away. It made no sense for me to pick up those passengers. It was just too much time. It would take too much time. I want to be near the downtown area. So I'll basically set the destination filter to get me to the other side of downtown and then back and forth. I find that way I can get more requests, and I'm not getting requests from 30 minutes away during these peak times. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, or subscribe, and drive safe.